Have you ever sent a message to someone, only to find yourself staring at those three little dots? Waiting. And waiting. And waiting? And then, nothing. No reply. No explanation. Did they forget about you? Or maybe, just maybe, they're a Taurus? Now, if you've ever been ghosted by a Taurus, you know the feeling. It's like they've vanished off the face of the earth. But here's the thing, this mysterious silence isn't as personal as you might think. In fact, it's actually part of their nature. Today, we're going to unravel the mystery behind why a Taurus might ghost you. What if I told you it's not that they don't care, but that they need to recharge before they can connect with you again? Intrigued? Stick around, because understanding Taurus will not only help you understand them better but also teach you how to embrace patience and peace in your own life. So, grab your favorite drink, sit back, and let's dive into the world of Taurus. Oh, and if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and share it with someone who might need a little Taurus wisdom in their life. You won't want to miss this. If you've ever had a Taurus go quiet on you, you know the drill. 1 minute. Everything's great, you're chatting, laughing, sharing your day, and the next, poof, nothing. At first, it's easy to feel confused, maybe even a little hurt. But what if this sudden silence isn't personal at all? What if it's just their way of retreating to recharge? When a Taurus goes quiet, it's rarely because they've lost interest, it's often because they need time to reconnect with themselves. Let's be real, we all need space sometimes. And for Taurus, that space isn't just about being physically alone, it's about regaining their emotional balance and finding their inner peace. If you've been texting a Taurus, eagerly awaiting a reply, but instead find yourself staring at the screen wondering what happened, it's not about you. It's about their need for quiet time. They don't always express this, and it can seem mysterious, but it's something that goes deep within their nature. Think about it. Taurus is an earth sign, deeply connected to their physical world. They thrive on routine, stability, and most of all, comfort. So when life gets chaotic or draining, they retreat. Imagine you're a Taurus after a long, tiring day, dealing with a lot of stress. What do you need the most? Peace. And when the world feels like it's moving too fast, the best way to regain that peace is by taking a break and recharging. Here's a little insight from my own experience with a Taurus friend. We had plans for a weekend hangout, and as always, I was excited. But on the morning of, she went completely silent. No calls, no texts. My first instinct? To assume something was wrong. Did I do something? Was she upset? But after a few hours, I realized she wasn't ghosting me, she was recharging. Later that evening, she texted me a simple message, "Sorry, I needed some me time. I'll be good for tomorrow." It was a little reminder for me. Taurus needs those moments to restore their energy. And when they do, they come back 100% present. Taurus isn't the kind of person who will say, "I need space," outright. Instead, they'll simply go silent for a while. It can feel like ghosting, but what they're really doing is creating space to come back as their best selves. It's not a rejection, it's an invitation for you to give them room to breathe. If you're in a relationship with a Taurus, whether platonic or romantic, it's essential to understand that this space isn't about pushing you away. It's about them honoring their need for balance and peace. They might even appreciate the fact that you respect their boundaries and give them the time they need to recharge. The key takeaway here? Don't take it personally. Let them be. When they're ready to return, they'll do so with a renewed sense of calm. If you find yourself feeling anxious or upset during this period, take it as an opportunity to reflect on your own boundaries. This could be the perfect moment for you to recharge as well. After all, we all need to step back sometimes. If you're feeling frustrated, try to channel that energy into something productive or relaxing for yourself. Whether it's journaling, practicing meditation, or simply enjoying some quiet time. It's all about honoring your own space, just like Taurus does. As much as Taurus is known for their love of peace, their connection to Venus's planet of beauty and sensuality gives them an intense need to be comfortable. If their surroundings aren't calm, they'll be quick to retreat into their personal space. This is where their need for naps, long breaks, or quiet time in nature comes into play. It's not laziness. It's them reconnecting with the grounded, earthy energy that makes them feel whole. So when a Taurus disappears into their shell, know that they're simply recalibrating their inner world to come back stronger. I remember another situation with a different Taurus friend. We had plans to meet up at a cafe, and she'd been very excited about it. But as the time approached, I noticed she hadn't texted me to confirm. The minutes turned to hours, and still nothing. I was about to send a message when I remembered her love for quiet mornings. She often took time to herself, to just be. After I gave her some space, she texted me later in the evening, explaining that she needed time to center herself. She wasn't upset, she wasn't busy in the way I expected, she just needed peace. And that was her way of saying, I'm taking care of myself so I can be a better friend to you. The respect for her own boundaries taught me something valuable. Sometimes, we all need to hit pause, even if it means going silent for a little while. Taurus doesn't like to rush. In a world that's constantly moving at lightning speed, Taurus takes their time. This isn't a personality flaw, it's simply how they function. They like to take things slow and steady, especially when it comes to emotional connections. So, if you're texting a Taurus and they don't respond right away, don't stress out. They'll reach out when they're ready. The slow pace might be frustrating for those who want immediate gratification. But it's also what makes Taurus so dependable and grounded when they're fully present. Think about this, rushing a Taurus for an answer isn't going to get you anywhere. They'll likely retreat further into their shell. Instead, try this approach, give them the time they need. Don't pressure them for a quick response. When they're ready, they'll reach out to you, and when they do, they'll be intentional about it. That's the magic of Taurus, they don't waste time on anything that doesn't matter. They prioritize quality over quantity. And by giving them the space they need, you're giving them the best environment to be true to themselves and to show up as the reliable, steady presence they are. This slow, methodical approach is also the reason why Taurus can seem like they're taking forever to make decisions. They don't rush into things, whether it's a big life decision or a simple text reply. When they've made up their mind, though, they're all in. That's when you know you've got a true Taurus on your side. They don't give their energy away lightly. But when they do, you'll feel it deeply because they've spent the time to ensure that it's a true, authentic connection. Taurus's need for space and downtime doesn't mean they're emotionally distant or disinterested. It means they're focused on self-care and ensuring that when they do engage with you, they are fully present, emotionally grounded, and able to offer their best self. When a Taurus goes quiet, give them space. When they come back, they'll be a more balanced, centered version of themselves, ready to deepen the connection. The more you understand Taurus's nature, the easier it becomes to flow with them rather than feeling like you're being left in the dark. So, the next time you find yourself waiting for a Taurus to reply, take it as an opportunity to pause as well. Embrace the quiet. And when they're ready to reconnect, you'll both come back stronger, grounded in the peace that Taurus values so deeply. Imagine trying to connect with someone who seems emotionally distant at times. You send a message, eagerly awaiting a response. And hours go by without a word. The silence stretches, and you start to wonder, did I say something wrong? It can feel like you're being shut out, but here's the thing, Taurus doesn't always communicate their emotional needs clearly, especially when they're feeling overwhelmed. Their need for emotional boundaries isn't about rejecting others, it's about protecting their peace. I remember a time when a Taurus friend of mine completely shut down during a hectic period in their life. I reached out several times, feeling frustrated, unsure of what I'd done. But when they finally opened up, they explained that they didn't want to burden me with their struggles. They needed to process things alone before being able to engage again. For Taurus, it's not about you, it's about them needing to step back and heal in private. This is something many people overlook when it comes to this earth sign. They value their peace deeply and will retreat into their own world when life gets too chaotic. If you've ever felt like a Taurus pulled away without explanation, it's because they needed that time to preserve their mental and emotional space. Taurus is ruled by Venus, the planet of love, beauty, and pleasure, which influences their deep need for comfort and tranquility. It's no surprise, then, that their emotional boundaries are tied to their physical surroundings. If their environment is stressful or uncomfortable, it's almost impossible for them to function at their best. For instance, during a particularly stressful week, I noticed my Taurus friend retreating more and more into her room, not responding to my texts or calls. She explained later that the chaos around her was draining her energy, and she couldn't even bring herself to interact until she found peace again. Taurus doesn't like feeling overwhelmed. When their personal space is invaded, emotionally or physically, they'll shut down to restore their balance. This behavior isn't about pushing you away. It's about self-preservation. Think of it like this: when a Taurus goes quiet, it's like they're putting up a do not disturb sign. It's not personal, it's necessary for them to stay emotionally balanced. You can't rush someone to be ready to connect when they're feeling overwhelmed. The more you respect their boundaries, the more likely they are to return when they're ready. They may not always voice it, but they appreciate the space you give them. It's also a reminder that we all need boundaries, not just Taurus. The next time you feel like someone is pulling away, rather than pushing harder, take a step back and give them room to breathe. It could be exactly what they need to reset. Now, consider this: Taurus might seem emotionally distant, but their loyalty and attachment to those they care about are unmatched. This paradox can confuse people who are unfamiliar with Taurus energy. They'll go quiet, but when they come back, they're all in. This push and pull is part of their charm. It's not that they're flaky or avoidant. It's that they're extremely selective about when they allow their full energy to be available. Let's say you're in a relationship with a Taurus and one day, they go silent for a while. You might start to wonder, what did I do wrong? Did I say something? It's tempting to think that this is a sign of disinterest, but in reality, Taurus needs time to process their emotions and find their grounding. When they're ready to engage, they'll do so with sincerity and devotion. Their loyalty is often quietly unwavering, even though it can feel like they've disappeared for a bit. It's important to understand that when they're back, they're not just coming back with a half-hearted response, they're coming back to invest in the connection fully. This is the beauty of Taurus's energy. Once they commit, they're all in. But they can't commit fully until they've taken that necessary time for themselves. If you're waiting for a Taurus to come back after a period of silence, don't chase them. Let them return on their own time. And when they do, embrace the renewed connection that will be built on the stability they need to offer. They'll appreciate your patience, and you'll both benefit from a deeper, more grounded relationship. Taurus's methodical approach extends beyond their emotional boundaries. It shows up in every aspect of their life, especially their decision-making. Taurus is known for being a slow and steady sign, and this shows up when they need to make decisions. They'll take their time, carefully considering every angle before jumping into anything. This can be incredibly frustrating for people who are used to making quick decisions, but with Taurus, the phrase "slow and steady wins the race" couldn't be truer. I once had a friend, a Taurus, who spent weeks deliberating over whether or not to move to a new city for a job. The more people encouraged her to make a quick decision, the more she withdrew. She couldn't rush it. She needed to feel comfortable with every detail before making the leap. Watching her process through this decision taught me something powerful: Taurus doesn't act on impulse. They're grounded in their decisions, ensuring that when they do make a choice, it's one they can stand behind. This slow, steady decision-making process is often misunderstood. People may think Taurus is indecisive or wishy-washy, but in reality, They just need time to feel confident in their choices. They can't be rushed into anything, whether it's a job, a relationship, or even just a casual hangout. So if you're dealing with a Taurus who seems like they're taking forever to decide something, trust the process. They're just being true to their nature, ensuring that when they make a commitment, it's lasting. In a world that moves faster than ever, Taurus reminds us to slow down and take our time with the things that matter. If you're the type of person who rushes through life, this could be a great opportunity for you to learn from Taurus. Embrace the slow pace and give yourself the time to make decisions that are well thought out and grounded. The rush of life can easily cloud our judgment, but Taurus's deliberate nature ensures that their choices are made with careful consideration, which often leads to long-term satisfaction. Another trait of Taurus that can sometimes cause confusion is their need for independence. Taurus is known for being self-sufficient, and they value their personal space and autonomy above all else. If you're in a relationship with a Taurus, this can sometimes feel like they're pulling away or not giving enough of themselves. But it's not that they don't care, it's that they need their independence to feel whole. Take a moment to think about your own needs. How much personal space do you require to feel at ease? For Taurus, that need is paramount. They need to be able to stand on their own, make their own decisions, and have the freedom to carve their own path. This doesn't mean they don't enjoy being close to you, it just means they need to maintain their own sense of self, even in the most intimate relationships. I once dated a Taurus who was very independent and liked doing things alone, whether it was going for a walk or spending a weekend doing something for themselves. In the beginning, I interpreted this as a lack of interest. I was used to more constant communication. But over time, I realized that this was just their way of maintaining balance in their life. They weren't pulling away because of anything I did, they were simply honoring their need for space. If you find yourself feeling like a Taurus is too distant, remember that their need for independence doesn't mean they don't care. It's actually a sign of their self-reliance, and respecting this can strengthen your relationship. Give them the room to be themselves, and they'll return to you with a renewed appreciation for the bond you share. Understanding Taurus's need for independence can lead to a deeper, more respectful connection, where both partners can thrive independently and together. One of the most profound lessons Taurus teaches us is the importance of self-care. Their approach to life, with all its focus on peace, balance, and comfort, is a gentle reminder that sometimes we need to pause, reset, and reconnect with ourselves before we can fully show up for others. If you find yourself in a situation where a Taurus has ghosted you, take it as an opportunity to reflect on your own need for space. How can you prioritize your own well-being? What can you do to recharge when life feels overwhelming? By embracing the same self-care principles that Taurus naturally embodies, you'll find that you can navigate moments of silence and emotional distance with more patience and understanding. Rather than worrying or feeling frustrated, use the time to focus on your own growth and peace. When a Taurus returns, they'll come back refreshed, and you'll have also benefited from the space to focus on your own healing. There's something special about the way Taurus approaches relationships. They're not ones to rush into things, and they certainly aren't the type to show their hand too quickly. In fact, the longer they take to open up, the more they actually value the connection. If you've been wondering why a Taurus seems slow to commit, or why they take their time responding, it's because they don't like to rush into emotional investments. When a Taurus commits, they do so with full devotion, but they need to be absolutely certain before they make that leap. I had a close friend who's a Taurus, and we were both in a situation where we were navigating the start of a relationship. From the outside, it seemed like everything was going great, good conversations, mutual respect, lots of chemistry. But then, I noticed something, there was this hesitation. She wasn't rushing to put a label on things, nor was she expressing all her feelings up front. At first, I thought maybe she wasn't that into me, or perhaps I had done something to make her pull back. But as time went on, I realized that it wasn't about me at all, it was about her being careful with her heart. She needed to make sure everything was aligned, and she wasn't going to rush into anything without fully knowing how she felt. Taurus doesn't like uncertainty, especially when it comes to emotions. They want to be sure that their investments, whether it's their time, energy, or love, are going to be worth it in the long run. And this slow, steady approach can be one of the most reassuring things about Taurus. When they do commit, you know they're in it for the long haul. If you're feeling frustrated because your Taurus partner or friend isn't moving things forward at the pace you'd like, it might help to understand that they're just making sure they're making the right choice. They take their time because they value stability above all else. Rushing them won't speed up the process, in fact, it might make them retreat further. So instead of pressing for answers or pushing for commitments, give them the space to think things through. You'll both benefit from this patience in the long run, as Taurus will come to you with a solid, well-considered decision when they're ready. Taurus's need for stability also shows up in their love for routine and predictability. This can sometimes be frustrating, especially when life throws unexpected changes or challenges into the mix. Taurus thrives in environments that feel secure and unchanging. They crave a sense of comfort that comes from knowing exactly what's going on around them. This is why they might withdraw when things feel too unpredictable or chaotic. I remember a time when I was trying to plan a surprise outing for a Taurus friend. We had talked about it for weeks, but when the day arrived, something happened, unexpected delays and a change of plans that caused everything to feel a bit chaotic. I thought they would be fine with the spontaneity, but instead, my Taurus friend completely shut down. She wasn't upset with me personally, but the change in routine threw her off balance. It wasn't the surprise itself, it was the unpredictability of the situation. Taurus doesn't like surprises unless they're in control of them. They need to know what's coming next. And when things don't go as planned, it can cause them significant stress. If you're dealing with a Taurus who seems uncomfortable with unexpected changes, try to keep them in the loop as much as possible. Give them a sense of predictability. This could mean being upfront about your plans, giving them a heads up about changes in your schedule, or allowing them to be part of the decision-making process. It's not about controlling the situation, but about giving Taurus the comfort they need to feel secure. The more stable and predictable you can make your relationship or friendship, the more Taurus will thrive in that environment. Another thing to remember about Taurus is their deeply rooted attachment to the things they love, whether it's a place, a person, or even a habit. When a Taurus decides they like something, they're all in. It could be a favorite restaurant, a routine they've been following for years, or even a favorite way to spend their downtime. Once they form that attachment, it's not something they easily let go of. In fact, it can sometimes be hard for them to change their ways, even when it might be in their best interest. This attachment to comfort and familiarity can sometimes make them resistant to change. Take my experience with a Taurus coworker. We worked together on a big project that had to be constantly adapted to meet client needs. Every time we needed to change course, my Taurus coworker would struggle. It wasn't that they were opposed to the project, they simply didn't like how constantly switching gears disrupted the stability they craved. They were attached to a process, and when that process had to change, it threw them off balance. It's important to recognize that Taurus doesn't have a problem with change itself. It's the suddenness and lack of preparation that causes discomfort. If you're working with or in a relationship with a Taurus, keep this in mind. Gradual change is the key. Introduce new ideas or shift slowly and allow time for adjustment. The more you can align any transitions with their need for stability, the smoother it will go. This brings us to another essential Taurus trait, their love for tangible, physical experiences. Unlike some zodiac signs who may thrive on intellectual stimulation or emotional connections, Taurus is deeply grounded in the physical world. They take comfort in the sensory experiences around them, whether it's a delicious meal, a walk in nature, or even just curling up with a good book. Taurus's connection to the earth element means they are incredibly in tune with the physical world, and this translates into their desire for sensory pleasure and material comfort. I had a friend who was a Taurus, and no matter how busy life got, she would always make time for the small, sensory joys. Every weekend, she'd take a walk through a nearby park, savoring the feel of the grass under her feet, the scent of fresh flowers, and the sound of birds singing. To anyone else, it might have seemed like a simple walk, but for her, it was a form of meditation. It was her way of grounding herself, of reconnecting with the world around her. For Taurus, these moments of sensory indulgence are not just luxuries, they're essential to their emotional health. If you find that your Taurus is shutting down or becoming distant, try to connect with them through something physical. Maybe take a walk together, enjoy a meal, or even spend time in nature. These small, sensory-rich experiences can help bring them back into balance. And if you're in a relationship with a Taurus, consider how you can incorporate more of these moments of sensory connection into your time together. Taurus doesn't always need deep conversation to feel close to someone, they just need the space to experience life in a grounded, physical way. This sensory connection also ties back to Taurus's strong desire for security. Because they are so in tune with the physical world, Taurus values the things that make them feel safe and cared for, whether that's a comfortable home, a loving partner, or even a favorite piece of clothing. They're deeply attached to the idea of feeling secure and protected, and they often seek out environments that reinforce that feeling. But here's the catch: Taurus's need for security can sometimes lead them to be resistant to change. When things start to feel unstable or uncertain, they'll withdraw into themselves, seeking comfort in the things they know best. If you're dealing with a Taurus who's been distant, don't be surprised if they're trying to find their way back to a sense of security. They may not immediately open up or explain what's going on, but they're working on restoring their sense of balance. If you want to help them through this, provide them with a stable and supportive environment. Let them know that you're there, but give them the space they need to get back to their center. Taurus teaches us the value of comfort, security, and routine. When you give them the room to recharge, honor their need for space, and offer them stability, they'll come back stronger and more present. They're not avoiding you, they're simply tending to their own needs so that they can show up fully for the people they care about. And in turn, you'll learn the importance of nurturing your own boundaries and emotional well-being. As we approach the end of our exploration of Taurus's intriguing personality, one more thing we must address is their emotional depth. Despite their sometimes quiet and reserved nature, Taurus feels emotions deeply. When a Taurus pulls away or goes silent, it's not because they don't care. In fact, it's often the opposite. They care so much that they need time to process their feelings before they can communicate them in a healthy, balanced way. One of the most important things to understand about Taurus is their emotional sensitivity. They may seem like they're not as expressive as other signs, but they are just as invested emotionally, if not more so. I've seen this in my own experiences with Taurus friends and partners. There's this quiet intensity about them that's often misunderstood. I recall a time when a Taurus friend of mine went silent for a few days, and I was worried. I thought something was wrong between us. But when they finally reached out, they shared that they had been feeling overwhelmed by personal issues and needed space to work through them on their own. They weren't avoiding me, they just needed to emotionally ground themselves before re-engaging. This is one of the most important lessons Taurus teaches us: the value of taking time to process and heal emotionally before re-entering social situations. It's a form of self-care, and it's something we can all learn from. Taurus doesn't rush through their emotions or force themselves to engage when they're not ready. They value emotional authenticity. And when they finally return, they are much more in tune with themselves and the people around them. So, if you've been on the receiving end of a Taurus's silence, it's important to be patient and give them the space they need to find their emotional center. When they come back, they will be more present, grounded, and willing to engage in a deeper, more meaningful way. Another important thing to recognize about Taurus is their need for predictability. We touched on this earlier with their love for routine, but it's so central to who they are that it bears repeating. Taurus finds peace in the predictable, and any disruption to this can cause them considerable stress. Whether it's something small, like a last-minute change in plans, or something bigger, like an unexpected shift in their life, Taurus will likely withdraw to recalibrate. For example, I once made plans with a Taurus to meet for dinner, but I had to change the time at the last minute. She seemed fine at first, but when we finally met up, there was a noticeable tension. She admitted that the change had caught her off guard and she didn't feel ready to adapt to it. It wasn't about me or the change itself, it was the unpredictability of it. Taurus thrives in environments where they know what to expect. When things get too chaotic, they retreat into their safe, predictable space. If you're dealing with a Taurus who's pulled away or gone quiet, it's often because they need time to process and adjust to the new, unpredictable energy around them. If you want to avoid disrupting this sense of stability in your Taurus relationships, try to keep things predictable and communicate any changes in advance. Give them a heads up when things are shifting, whether it's a change in plans or a new idea you want to discuss. The more you respect their need for predictability, the more stable and peaceful the connection will be. It's not about being rigid or unflexible, it's about recognizing that Taurus needs time to adjust to change, just like anyone else. The more you can offer that stability, the more likely they are to stay present and engaged with you. Lastly, one thing that Taurus truly values is their personal space. As much as they enjoy the company of others, they are extremely independent individuals who need time to themselves in order to recharge. If you've ever felt like your Taurus friend or partner was pulling away, it might not be about you, it's about them needing to reconnect with themselves. Taurus doesn't like feeling smothered or controlled. And they need a healthy amount of personal space to feel like they're in control of their own life. I had a relationship with a Taurus where, early on, I didn't understand this need for personal space. I was constantly checking in, texting, and trying to make plans, not realizing that I was unintentionally overwhelming them. It wasn't until they took some time off from our relationship and explained that they needed space to breathe that I understood the importance of this. Taurus needs autonomy, and they need time to themselves to maintain their mental and emotional health. This doesn't mean they don't value the relationship, it means they need to feel like they have control over their personal space and their time. If you're in a relationship with a Taurus, it's important to respect their need for personal time. It doesn't mean they don't want to be with you, it just means they want to feel like they have a balance between their social life and their personal space. If you can offer them that balance, you'll find that your relationship with them is more harmonious and fulfilling. Giving them the freedom to recharge and have time to themselves will only strengthen your connection. Understanding Taurus's nature is a powerful tool for building deeper, more meaningful relationships with them. When you respect their need for space, their emotional processing, their love for stability, and their methodical approach to commitment, you're creating an environment where they can thrive. Taurus doesn't need constant reassurance or high levels of excitement, they need understanding, patience, and the freedom to express themselves on their own terms. If you've ever felt confused or frustrated by a Taurus's silence or emotional withdrawal, I hope this video has helped shed some light on why they act the way they do. Remember, Taurus's tendency to go quiet or withdraw isn't a sign of rejection, it's their way of grounding themselves, ensuring they have the emotional space to return with a balanced, healthy perspective. And when they do return, you can be sure they'll do so with a renewed commitment and loyalty, just as solid as the earth beneath their feet. So, the next time a Taurus goes quiet or needs some space, take it as an opportunity to reflect on your own emotional needs. Give them the time they need to recharge, and in turn, give yourself the same space. We can all learn from Taurus's ability to honor our own boundaries and emotional health. It's a lesson that's crucial not just for relationships with Taurus but for all our connections in life. And there you have it, everything you need to understand why a Taurus might ghost you. And why it's not something to take personally. Remember, understanding each other's needs is the key to any successful relationship. So, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Zen Mind Peaceful Life for more content that helps you understand the nuances of astrology, relationships, and self-care. I'll see you in the next video.